Hi friends, I'm Abby and today is my first ever vlog. So, I'm going to attempt to vlog this weekend. It's Friday morning and to make it a little bit different, I've decided to go to the bookstore and buy a book at random. I find that nowadays I end up picking up books because of recommendations, and all I do is see it on YouTube, see it on Bookstagram, someone's recommended it to me and I'm like, yes, that looks good. I look at the reviews and I'm like, yeah, the reviews all look good. So today I thought I would take myself back to how it was years ago before I discovered YouTube discovered BookTube, and go to the bookstore, browse, look at books based on their covers and blurbs and buy one of them and then read it and see if it's a hidden gem that no one's talked about yet. I'm not allowed to look at reviews or anything to do with the book. I'm just going, seeing it random, and hopefully it'll be good, because if it's not, then we'll know that it's not recommended for a reason. We'll see how it goes and you'll come along with me.
I don't wanna let you down. It's the only thing I think about every morning. You know my life ain't figured out, but I promise if you stick around it'll never get boring. We'll spend nights, cheap red wine, look at flats even though we can't afford them. I don't wanna let you down, I don't wanna lose you now. Will you stay even when you wanna walk away? When times get bad, we can learn to love what we have. I don't wanna let you down, I don't wanna let you down.
Okay, so I'm now home and I've got a book. This is my mystery pick that I'm going to be reading for the next couple of days. It's The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison. It's got a nice cover, and from the blurb it sounds as though it's about a goblin court and it follows the youngest son of the ruling family, and the king and the three elder sons have all been killed, or killed in an accident, and he now has to take over ruling the kingdom, and it has political intrigue. Actually, I picked this up in the bookstore, and as soon as I picked it up, the assistant came over and said that it was one of his favourite books and that it was really good. So that sealed the deal that this was the one that was coming home with me. I don't think I've ever seen anyone mention it on BookTube, but you may have heard of it, I just haven't. So I will start this now and let you know how it goes. Okay, it's literally been 2 minutes and I've opened the book and there are 10 pages worth of glossary. 10 pages of glossary! Like, it goes on and on and on. Understand how there could be 10 pages of glossary. Okay, so I'm now 66 pages into The Goblin Emperor. Granted, 10 pages of that was glossary. So, there is a lot of names and characters. It feels as though quite a lot of this is a big info dump at the beginning, where you're getting introduced into the world and the history of all the different rulers that came before Maya, who is our new emperor. So we're introduced to him, and straight away he's awoken in the night, and a message has arrived to tell him that his father and his three elder brothers are dead, and he is now to be the ruler of the kingdom. And Maya he's sort of like the unwanted son, and he's been raised by his cousin, who doesn't seem to be like the nicest person either. It doesn't sound like he's had like a very nice childhood, really. But he's 19, and although his cousin hasn't treated him well, he seems to have raised him with a good education. So he is, I guess, in some ways well equipped for taking on the throne. So yeah, it starts off there, and he has just got to the palace, and he's meeting all the different chancellors and setting up his household. So it feels as though it's going to be very politically driven, that there's going to be a lot of machinations where you're going to have different characters thinking that he's going to be a very weak king because he's not been raised to be the king, so they're going to try and take control from him and use him as a puppet, and he's going to obviously endeavour to speak his mind. So I like how one of the first things that Maya does when he arrives is that he's always thinking about not just the ruling class, that he's going to attend the funeral for everyone else that died alongside the father and brothers, that he's thinking about everyone else, which is really nice, and it doesn't seem as though a lot of the other courtiers think about the lower classes. Well, some parts of the writing seem okay to read, and then some parts are very info-dumpy with lots of weird names. But we will see how we go. I'm feeling pretty so-so about it at the moment, but it's interesting. I'll let you know how I go in like another 100 pages or so. Okay, so what I hadn't realised earlier is that it's actually the reason why he is so hated by his father, or why he is the fourth unwanted child, is because the emperor had a few wives, and he is the son of his fourth wife, and his fourth wife came from the Goblin Kingdom, and he is the ruler of the Elf Kingdom. So I don't know if it's some sort of like not nationalities, but disagreement, or there's just different. The elves look down upon the goblins, is what I assume, and that is why he is unwanted. And so now him as a half elf, half goblin is coming in to rule the Elfin Kingdom is going to cause some problems. But yes, I just hadn't quite realised how those breeds of magical creature fitted into it, but now I do. Okay, back to reading. I just thought I'd check in. I'm now 173 pages into my mystery book, and I'm enjoying it so far. I still finding that there's a lot of names and characters of different places and people, and there's a lot going on with all the different names, and it's a bit overwhelming. And sometimes people have their like first name and their last name, so I'm looking for them in the glossary and they're in another section because of their surname, which is just a little bit confusing. I think it's like a reflection of the main character. So our main character is, because he was not introduced into the court life until now, he is meeting all these new characters and having to come to grips with everything, and so are we. So it's sort of like a reflection of that he is thrown in at the deep end, and so are we as the reader. But it seems a little bit much that there's different words for his guards and for his bedchamber people, and I'm like, why can't they just be called his guards instead of some really weird name that I keep forgetting? I don't know. It is a fantasy world. They can't just all be called guards, maybe. But overall, I'm liking the main character. I think he's really good. I quite like how he seems like a really decent guy, that he's been brought into being this king for the realm, and he's been brought up, and I guess in quite a humble way, that his cousin brought him up after his mother died, and actually he doesn't like his cousin. He wasn't treated very well by him, and I guess it's taught him some humanity, and he really respects all of the servants and everyone of whatever class they're in. He wants to respect them, so he comes off as a really decent guy that wants to do his best. I guess in some ways it's a bit naive that he's been thrown into this court, which is obviously quite hostile, that everyone's out for their own gain, and he's there in some ways a bit naively trusting quite a few people. He says to himself, I can't trust anyone, and I don't know who I should trust, but then he actively trusts the people that he's surrounded by. So I don't know, it's a bit tricky for him, I guess. I guess he feels as though he's got to trust someone, but I don't know. But he does seem to have a willingness to learn and try and do his best for the court. I quite like that he has these inner monologues that come along every now and again, so they're in italics, and he's the scene's going along, and suddenly you'll have this reflection of what's going on in his head, and he's like, oh, why did I say that? Oh, what an idiot, I shouldn't have done this. They're going to think I'm such a country bumpkin or something, which is quite comical, I think. So yeah, I'm still feeling a bit so-so about it. Part of me feels as though it's more of like a literary fantasy, if that's a genre that's around. Obviously it is very much a fantasy world. I'd say it's more like a literary fiction fantasy, if that's even a thing. But we will see how we go. I guess a third of the way through so far. So I will keep reading for a little bit more tonight and then head to bed and update you in the morning. Hi, it's now Saturday afternoon, and I thought I would update you on how I'm getting on with my mystery book. So I'm currently 315 pages in, so progressing quite nicely. Just got 150 odd pages to go till the end. It's still quite slow. But Maya is now the king, and he's progressing as the plot's progressing, but it's all very political. There's just lots of different court politics and different scenarios that are coming along that are affecting his reign. If you like political fantasy, and I generally do, then you would probably really like this, because the whole book is the politics of ruling a kingdom and coming into ruling a kingdom without being brought up with the education of it. So it is very much that there isn't a whole load of fantasy in it, really. Although they say that there's goblins and elves, I don't really see what the difference is between them and humans. That in all bodily aspects they seem to be human, except that goblins are supposedly darker skinned and elves are lighter skinned. But I don't know. And then it's, you don't seem to have, there's no real magic really mentioned, or if there is magic in this world, it's very much on the back burner, and it's not as though there's any wars or anything going on. It's all very just politically centred, which is fine if that's what you like. Everything's quite subtle. It seems as though there's lots of undercurrents of things, but there's nothing dramatic happening, really. It's all underlayer of tension as things progress. As we know from the beginning of the book, Maya's the fourth son of the king, and the king and his three brothers were killed. But there doesn't seem to be any urgency for figuring out how they were killed. There is a plot where they are trying to unearth how that's happened and who's to blame and everything, but it doesn't seem as though there's any danger. Because, at least I would think, if I knew that my family had been killed and that I was now ruling a kingdom, that you would be actively searching for the culprits, whereas in this it seems as though they're like, oh, there's going to be culprits, but it doesn't seem as though there's a threat to him. And I would have thought, I don't know, it just seems a bit bizarre, but it's on the back burner, that plot, for now. Potentially it will come up later on. So yes, that's where I'm at. I also wanted to mention, I don't know if I really made it very clear earlier, that the cousin that brings up Maya does abuse him. So I would mention that there are trigger warnings for childhood abuse and how that can affect someone throughout their life, not just during their childhood, but how even as an adult they still have fears from their childhood of the way that they were abused. So I just wanted to make that clear. Just a quick check-in to say that there's actually some quite funny moments in this book. So as well as the inner monologues, which I quite like because he's like just critiquing himself, which I mentioned previously, Maya King has just got a letter, and it says, "We knew so-and-so was an idiot. We regret extremely that we cannot challenge her to a duel and prove her worthlessness upon her carcass, but we are told that duelling is barbaric and unbefitting a lady, and in any event, so-and-so would not know how." I'm like, oh, okay. I quite like that character. Just the duelling is barbaric and unbefitting a lady. Just, it's quite nice having the comedic aspects throughout the book, that it lightens it a bit, because so much of it is the names that are so confusing, and some of it's quite dry. These lighter moments that are interspersed throughout are quite good. Hi, so it's Sunday morning and I have finished my book. So unfortunately this wasn't a hidden gem that I'd never heard of before, and I really wish that it was. I wish that I'd loved it and that I could rave about it to everyone and it would be this new book that I'd never heard of before and absolutely loved. But unfortunately, that is not what this is. I think I'm going to give it a 2.5. It's very dry. Like, I don't know if it's the writing or the plot, like the mixture together, I found it very dry. Like, it is just all very political. You don't really see much of the world apart from what's going on inside this court. Like, it's a very insular, you're like in this court and that's it. Which will work for some people, but not for me. And then combined with the really confusing names of everything, I just struggled with it. I do think that every now and again there were moments that were quite comedic, but they were just like the tiniest bit, and it didn't lighten the mood enough to make it a really enjoyable read or anything. I can see it being thought-provoking, and I am happy that I've read it, and I feel like it was a good experiment. The other thing I thought I'd mention, that it's all very much on the main character. Like, I feel as though we get to know Maya, our main character, very well, but all of the side characters are just very one-dimensional. That they all have very confusing names, so I get them mixed up, and then I didn't really get to know all of their personalities, that you just had the main character and everyone else was just filler. I also wanted to mention that there is another trigger warning in here, which is a spoiler, so I'll just leave that in my description box. So if you want to know about it, then it'll be there. So now I'm going to look at Goodreads and see what other people have said about this, and see whether my opinions match up with what other people say and what its overall Goodreads rating is. So I'm going for a 2.5. I feel as though the rating on Goodreads is going to be in the 3s, maybe like a 3.7, but that's a guess. So I'm now going to look at Goodreads and I'm going to see what other people think. I'm also unsure on whether this is a standalone or a series. I feel as though it wraps up. I mean, I wasn't like a massive fan of the ending, but I don't know if I don't think it's going to continue anywhere. I'm going to find that out now, and you'll see my reaction to that. I'm quite excited. I've been really looking forward to seeing what the reviews are for it, because I feel as though, as I've been reading, I'm like, I want to know what other people think. I want to know how it's reviewed. So, it has a 4.03 average rating on Goodreads with 25,900 ratings. So quite a few people have actually read it, and it's the first book in a series. Oh, so I was slightly wrong with what rating other people have given it. Let's see what people's reviews are. Sam and Alan, you've marked this as to read on Goodreads. Where? Oh. Okay. Yeah, obviously it's on your radar. Oh, it's got so many 5-star ratings. Okay, so looking at reviews, some people really liked the confusing writing style, and people were okay with the confusing names once they found the glossary. I mean, I found the glossary in the beginning and I still got confused with everyone. I think some people just said that they quite liked the change of pace from really epic fantasy books to this sort of slower paced story, and they just didn't, they liked it. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you really like political intrigue, then this will work. I feel like I'm in the minority now. Like, there's so many people that love it. I was thinking that maybe people would have agreed with me. Okay. Yeah, it seems to have very high praise on Goodreads, so this is not quite what I expected. But, okay. Someone mentions that there's a good theme of gender equality in the book, and that I would agree with. That I hadn't mentioned it before, but my other emperor is very keen for women to have a choice and make decisions for themselves instead of being forced into arranged marriages, which I agree with is a very good point, but I'm still sticking with my 2.5. Okay, well, that is for me, I found that really interesting. I don't know if that's come across on camera, but for me, I found this a very interesting process to go into a book completely blind and see how I feel about it. And I don't know, like, how much of our opinions are swayed by what other people think. That I've read this book completely in a bubble, and I've come up with my own opinions on it, and now seeing them completely different to other people, I don't know if I had gone in with these preconceptions, whether that would have influenced me or not. I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. It's not as though you can run an experiment, really. This is the experiment. If you would want me to do this again, I would definitely be up for it. I found it quite if not a fun process, because I didn't love the book that I picked, I definitely found it an interesting process, and I felt as though I read quite quickly because I wanted to get to the end and get to this step where I was looking at the reviews. Sorry, I'm still processing. I'm still processing this. Right. Well, I hope you like this. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in my future videos. Bye!